Ah!
You're in London just for the day.
Mm-hmm.
When you come here, do you ever have a chance to explore the culture, go to the galleries, or is it always just like in and out?
It's usually like in and out, like 24 to 36 hours, but I do my best to see the sights. But a perfect example is the fact that I've never been in this place before. I don't know how new it is, but I didn't know about it. But depending on what time I leave tomorrow, I might come back. Are you open tomorrow? Sundays.
Wow. Are you someone that takes pictures wherever you go? Are you always on Instagram and posting things you see?
I've been taking pictures for a long time. I wouldn't go as far as calling myself a photographer because I have friends that are professional photographers, and there is a distinct difference between what they do and what I do.
Yeah.
I'm more, I just take sort of snapshots everywhere I go, and Instagram has been a fun way to share that stuff. I don't show everything though on Instagram. Instagram is so small and condensed the format, and I like to be clever with what I put up. There are certain images that I'll find or steal away from things that are known as too good for Instagram. And they should wait.
Who do you show those to? Is it just select people, or just do you keep it to yourself?
I usually keep it to myself and like show it to my, look dad, like, see this one mom? Like, or close friends or something, but occasionally I'll publish them.
Save it up for
Yeah. Like there's an image in here from outdoor carnival on the Champs-Élysées in Paris of two lovers that were in front of me on a, not a carousel, what do you call the thing where you fly around on a cart? I'll show you the image. Anyway, I've had it for a couple of years, and I never wanted to let it, this one. I was sitting behind them, so our friends at home can see. Like, that'd be cool on Instagram, but it'd be like kind of a shame too, because I took the picture and I looked at it on the camera and I was like, that's so cool.
all
That's
the
everything.
colours and everything, the
Yeah.
movement. It's got it all, hasn't it?
Yeah, I like that picture.
I was looking, when I was researching for today, I was looking at all the press you've done surrounding the book and your new music project, and you have to talk a lot about it. A lot of artists don't want to talk about their work at all. How do you feel about having to dissect the pictures and stuff like that? Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, I was saying earlier that I've been doing press today, obviously, and I was saying earlier that I've spent much of my time so far talking about music, which it's an amazing, what an amazing opportunity to talk about music all day. It's so much fun. It gets a tad sort of self-indulgent very easily, especially when you're kind of like, when you're doing press and things, and we call it promo, you become the salesman.
Yeah.
And that's never been my favorite part of the process. In fact, it's one of my least favorite parts of the process. So, having had a lot of practice with it at this point, because it is sort of a necessary evil, I've learned that as long as I can stay rooted in the things that I love and love talking about and philosophizing about and musing about, then it feels a lot less like work. So if I get to talk about art and music all the time, it's wonderful. And I try to not sort of drift into the terribly self-indulgent areas, So, like, what about you? How long have you had this little creature in your lap?
About an hour.
Really?
I don't want him ever to leave.
It's attached to you now.
It's so cute.
I thought he was yours when I saw
I
you.
wish. Have you seen the other ones over there as well?
I just saw the one sitting in the window.
They're all characters, they've all got like one eye or...
Yeah, that's the one I met before.
With the book, when it came to whittling down what made it, how was that process? Because I can imagine it's hard with an album, but with this, is it as similarly as bad and tricky to decide what makes the cut?
Yeah, it's tricky because there's it's actually easier with an album because the process of writing a song, there's a lot of sort of self-editing that goes into it. And you're usually working with a small team of people as well. And so like with my latest record I put out, it's called Sons of the Sea. It was one other person. It was Brendan O'Brien. I wrote the record with him, and so it was just us two, just banging around ideas back and forth, and you sort of whittling down is perhaps too harsh of a term. It's like it's a little bit like a curation process. You're curating your best ideas and like molding them together to hopefully have something at the end that people want to listen to over and over again. This process is interesting because there's a lot more work to go through. Like I'm constantly drawing and writing things and taking pictures, so I have like thousands and thousands of things that accumulate really quickly in sketchbooks and projects and travel things and journal entries and all these things. So this one was probably the most carefully curated, I guess you could say, because I wanted it to really be a leap forward in its aesthetic than the first two books, and I wanted it to be a little bit more refined and a little bit more focused, I guess you could say. And I think it accomplishes that, even in the way it's presented, like with the vellum and the white and the whatever this thing is called.
I don't know what it's called, but
the
I like
bookmark.
it.
Yeah, it's cool. Like I mean, I grew up collecting books. I still collect books, and so I find myself in a place like this, and I just want to hang out in here. It's inspiring to me, like all of the ideas and the beautiful stories and things that all of these people have like shared with us. That's really what it's about, sharing all of ourselves in these interesting little ways. So the fact that this book is in here right now, even though it doesn't actually, it's a tragedy, right? It would look so good, like right here, behind the glass. Anyway, it's nice that it's in here, even if for a moment.
Do you feel you expose more of yourself with the books or the songs? Is there one that, if someone is critical about it, it hurts more?
No, I'm sort of equally as sensitive to both. But I've also learned to not take it as seriously, either of them. I take it very, very seriously in that I want to do my very best, and I want to continually evolve with the process and accept new influences and new inspirations and stay as sort of open as I can. I really think that makes for the best outcome, when you just remain as open as you possibly can. But I've gotten a little bit better at sort of taking the criticism and not taking it so seriously, because in the end, it's just these pieces of paper that we sort of stuck together.
You rationalize it like that.
Yeah. And this is important. It's like, no, it's not. It's not really. It's just a book, or it's just an album. So I take what I do very seriously, but I don't take myself very seriously. Does that make sense?
I think it makes it easier to cope with things if you think like that, doesn't it?
Yeah. There are moments in my life where I've let the things people said or thought or shared with me, what they would say to me, and it would really hurt. And I'm a sensitive person by nature. I don't know how to not be. It's just sort of the way I grew up.
Thing, I guess.
Yeah, but and so it's not that I don't listen to that anymore. I just don't take on those things as much. I don't attach to them as much, which is a good feeling.
Definitely. Now, you meditate, and I watched an interview with David Lynch where you were talking about a transcendental meditation. Yeah. Well, with art, you want to feel negative sometimes, and there's struggles in life. So you sometimes think, I'm not going to meditate for a bit, so I can feel those bits, and I can be inspired by the negatives.
That's an interesting question. There's that thought does occur to me at a certain point that if I stay in a sort of blissful meditative state too often, how much work am I going to want to do?
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that I found that the more consistently I practice meditation, the more open I become. Like I was saying before, the more open I remain, as I feel like the work is able to flow through easier. And so just because we meditate or we have some kind of a spiritual practice like that doesn't mean that we don't experience the pangs
Mm-hmm.
of life,
Still turmoil there.
there's still everything there.
Yeah.
It's just the way that you relate to them and what you do with them shifts.
Okay.
It doesn't go away, it just shifts. This is just in my experience.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be different for someone else who practices the same thing. In my experience, I've just practicing meditation has helped to it's helped me focus on the things that are more important, and it's helped me let go of the things that aren't. That's one of the things. There are lots of sort of byproducts of sitting quietly a couple times a day. And it's so interesting too that I've talked to so many people, loved ones and acquaintances and friends about meditation, and so many of them say like, where do you find the time? And it's like, well, actually, I meditate for like 20 minutes to half an hour every day. I'm like, yeah, how do you do that? And then my response is like, how long do you take like getting ready to go out when you go to work? And I don't know, an hour. So it's like, so you'll spend an hour like on your hair and your face to go out to meet the day, but you don't spend like 20 minutes on you, on the part of you that's like, that is you, that is actually you. And this is sort of the transitory part.
Doesn't make sense when you think about it like that, does it?
It doesn't really, no. And it's actually, and the technique that David and I were talking about is very, very simple. It's very easy. And so the way I like to think about it is it's just sitting quietly once a day. There are byproducts of sitting quietly. One of them is, for me, is a general sense of happiness, which is, to me, that's what it's all about. This is why I do all of these things, make music and art and stuff, because it makes me happy.
Now, your creativity comes in waves. It's not always there. When you have maybe a dry patch, how are you to live with? Are you like a footballer who's not performing well on the pitch and they're just a nightmare at home, or how do you respond to it? Are you moody, or?
It's probably a good question for my girlfriend. I'm sure I can be moody sometimes. It's rarely because I'm not feeling inspired, though. I get moody if I'm underslept or underfed.
Don't we all?
Yeah. I'm sort of, I think probably most men are that way. We're very simple creatures. Just like get enough sleep, get enough to eat. Occasional roll in the hay and everything's fine, you know.
Lots of nods from the crew there.
Yeah, you'll be fine. Everything's fine. It's amazing actually the difference that it makes. No, I have lots of activities that, and I'm very aware that when I'm sort of in that dry spell area, and once again I've learned to not take it so seriously. I'll just go swimming in the ocean or read, watch movies. There's so many things to do in life.
So you immerse yourself in other art forms and things like that?
Yeah, other people's art.
Yeah.
I'll go immerse myself in other people's art, and then that usually has the effect of inspiring me into wanting to do my own art. So that's one way you can do it.
Can you think of any films or songs that you can see have directly informed some recent work?
That's a good question. I wouldn't even know where to start. I'm sorry. I do know though that at every single thing, good or bad, has an effect. Everything, even from the most mundane glance from a person on the tube this morning. You know, that it all goes in.
Osmosis.
Yeah, and I've honestly learned just as much from terrible films as I have from films that like made me cry and joy. So once again, try not to like attach too much to any one of them. Just sort of see a terrible film, be like, that sucked. See an amazing film, let it make you cry. It was amazing, and then it makes you want to, make a movie, which I haven't done that yet. So.
Oh, is that on the list?
Sure. Want to make a movie? Let's do it.
Love to.
Yeah. What's his name again?
Monty, is it?
Monty?
We'll call him Monty.
Okay.
I think he's happy with it.
Let's make a film about Monty, his adventure in London, and then he found his soulmate.
Hey, Sophie.
Yeah.
What will we call it?
Monty and Sophie.
Simple. Well, I could just talk about him all day, but we must stay on target here.
Okay.
Now, with the poetry, when did you know that you had a good voice in that way? Because when I see art, I know I like it, or I know that they're talented. With poetry, I'm never quite sure whether is that good poetry? Is that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, when did you know what you were writing was actually good?
I don't
It
know
was
if it's
still
good.
it's still a mystery.
Yeah, it's called. I mean, it's shit for tons of people, I'm sure. I'm sure
So,
people reading,
yeah.
they're like, "What? Who is this guy? Like, how dare he?" That's part of what's so actually amazing about it is that that's one of the things I love about music and art and poetry is that it's so completely subjective. And yeah, I mean, I could only hope that certain people read the poetry and they're inspired by it. They really like it. I don't know if that's the case, honestly. There hasn't been as much feedback about, excuse me, the poetry as there has been the images. And then there's been a lot of feedback about, you know, the music that I make and or participate in. So
maybe a lot of people feel like me and don't know what is good poetry.
yeah.
They don't want to say that's amazing before everyone goes no, and vice versa.
So I have that going for me.
No.
Yeah. See, I don't know what good poetry is. I just know that if something makes me feel,
Yeah.
makes me feel.
It's all that matters, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, you can take classes and stuff. Isn't that weird? You can take classes on how to make good poetry or how to tell what good poetry is. It's not the point, I don't think.
Just do it.
It's supposed to be a geyser.
Yeah.
It's supposed to just be like an eruption of something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes you feel anything good.
Now, when you're doing mixed media, what I've found in my experience, sometimes it's a good mess and a good layering and good chaos, and then other times it literally just looks a mess. What is your
It's like mud.
success rate on that? Do you have?
I make a lot of mud.
Do you
Yeah.
quite slushy down there?
Yeah, but I love playing in the mud.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had lots of experiences when I was younger. We'll call them psychedelic experiences when I was sitting in the mud and very inspired. All over
Getting
my
filthy.
face. And mud is amazing, so if I can make mud on like paper, great.
I do.
Yeah, sometimes other people will see mud in a mess, and then sometimes people will see, oh, there's something in there, and they'll delve into it. It's actually most of what I know how to do is just the proverbial playing with mud. I love to just spill ink on pieces of paper or sometimes watercolor and like throw it around and blow it and pull it with my finger and then let it dry and then find images in it. A lot of this book actually is that process.
Right.
It's just sort of, it's like I have no plan. I'm just sort of.
I'm getting that about you. You're not the one for planning.
No, I love flying by the seat of my pants.
Yeah.
That's why I'm able to go into this thing, this like book event that I'm going to from here over at Waterstones. I don't know what we're going to talk about.
Uh-oh. I'm nervous for you now.
No, don't be, because that's what's so fun about it.
Yeah.
It's like to be able to like just go into a situation and not know what you're going to talk about, but just be excited with the opportunity to just interact with people and have a conversation like that. It's a cool thing. You know, we all kind of know generally what we're going to talk about, but I hope that the conversation evolves into some weird UFO. The dog just farted on me.
Great.
Chihuahua farts are a danger too. Yeah.
I'm not getting the whiff yet.
All right, maybe you just.
I might angle it
Oh
towards
no,
me.
he's looking over there.
Oh, don't make that.
Oh, buddy.
Quick, so pretty.
Float into the room,
Look at him go.
a ruffled feather, a hint of your perfume.
Can you not love that girl?